Are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then I'll begin. If you watched my previous video about tramadol addiction, you'll probably think, oh, blimey, this bloke's been addicted to everything. And I suppose that's all part and parcel of having an addictive personality, that you do kind of career from one horrible nightmare to the next until you sort yourself out. The gambling addiction did stop long time ago, and the tramadol addiction several years ago. So both of these things are sort of done and dusted now. I feel they're done and dusted, never to be revisited. But anyway, I want to tell you my story about this. It begins in the early 80s in Pontins in Blackpool, which is like a holiday camp for those not from the UK. And I remember playing a fruit machine there for the very first time, I think, in my life. I was about 12 or 13, and it was in the clubhouse in Pontins, which was used in the evening for entertainment. But during the day, nothing really went on there. But I know my mum and my sister went in there to use the facilities, and whilst they were in there, I put I don't know, 50p or something in a machine and won. And that's something that I learned later was very common, that people who continued to gamble had a good win the very first time they'd done it, because it was kind of set in their brain then that they could win. So moving on from there, throughout my teen years, I went to arcades a lot. Anytime I had money, I spent it. There didn't seem to be any sort of regulation, because I can remember being in arcades in my school uniform, and I knew the times that all the arcades opened and closed, and whenever I had money I'd be in there, and I'd be in there until I had no money, basically. I had a Saturday job during the mid to late 80s, and I used to get paid £10 a day for that, and I used to work for the day. I used to get my £10 in a little brown envelope. I'd leave where I was working, across the road, go into an arcade and spend the £10. And then I wouldn't have enough money to get the bus home, so I'd have to walk home. And I would do this week after week after week, which just shows you that the control is just not there. There's no sort of rhyme or reason to it. Whatever's going on in your mind is just bizarre, because you just can't get a grip on it, and you just can't stop doing it. You're just driven to do it for no reason. It's ridiculous when you think about it. But that's the way my mind was working at that time. And I have to say that also at that time, I didn't always have money, and I don't come from a wealthy family in any way whatsoever. And I would often acquire money in ways which were not that honest. I'm not going to go into too many details, but I wasn't like the nicest and most honest person at that time in my life. We are going back about 30 years now, so I would consider myself to be a very different sort of person now. In 1988, I went to university, and I used to go to an arcade in the high street there, which was in Pontypridd in Cardiff, not in Cardiff, in Wales, in South Wales. And I remember this one day I was in the arcade and I put the money in, and then as I was leaving, I saw a machine I hadn't played before, and I thought, oh, I've got a couple of pound left, I'll put it in there, try and win something. And of course I lost again. And as I left the arcade, I just had this absolutely horrible sort of feeling in the pit of my stomach, and I just knew at that moment that it had to stop. Because I thought, if this doesn't stop, this has been going on now since 1981, 82, and now it's 1989. I've spent God knows how many thousands and thousands of pounds on nothing. And, you know, if I keep this momentum, then I'm either going to end up selling myself to make money or lying in a gutter dead. So at that moment, I had some sort of eureka moment, and I thought, right, I'm going to stop. I'd never tried to stop before, but there was something about that day that just pushed me to try to stop. I was a volunteer at a place called Nightline, which is a student helpline, and when I was on my next shift there, I found the information for the local Gamblers Anonymous. I used to go there. I started going there. I went there every Friday for about 6 months, and they helped me. They helped me completely turn it around, and they helped me to stop. I stopped gambling on April 10th, 1989, and I haven't gambled since. I learned a lot at Gamblers Anonymous. Mostly, I learned how lucky I was, because I'd met people there who had lost their families, their homes, their jobs, Their lives had been completely ruined by gambling, and I felt myself to be very, very fortunate to actually stop when I did stop, and I haven't looked back since. But I have Gamblers Anonymous to thank for that, and if I hadn't had them, who knows where I'd be, or even if I would be today. So if you think you can, if you could need help, then there are some links underneath this video. If you're in the UK or USA, use them, and all the best. Thank you.